Hello again, and with the warmest Baha'i greeting to all the people of the planet, of the present and of the future. Continuing the discussions in the past, last night, today of course is 21st of November, time about 10:20, and I'm going to continue to further explain the prophethood by stating the writing of Abdul Baha that the prophets of God essentially they have one character, one spirit, more than the people, ordinary people, shall I say, us. We're all sharing in having a mineral body composed of minerals and elements, chemical elements, the physical body. On it we have a spirit, or just let's say a program installed that would be the vegetable spirits, vegetation, plant, which keeps the character of the physical body together. That's why the body doesn't rot. Just like the plants, we grow hair, we grow in height. So it's a vegetable thing, it's a plant things that we have. Over that is installed the animal windows, I should say, the animal program that let this plant, let this animal, let this vegetation to be able to communicate by sight, by hearing, by all these five senses. And in here, we and animal are all the same, even including the prophets of God. But over this animal program that we have, another program is installed. It's called human spirit in the Baha'i faith, which allows the human program allows to use all these characters of the animal and the plant and the mineral in order to calculate and discern and think to solve the problem, more like a person behind a computer using the computer, which is made out of this vegetable and animals and minerals, just like computer, using it to calculate and do things. In here also, we and the prophets are all the same, but it comes to what we know as Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit, something else, a different program, a different dimensions that it's unknown to human being. How the prophet God, we see their kindness and everything else, but we do not know how and why we know why they say why, but it's unknown to us exactly how a prophet of God is a prophet of God and why is he. We know it's a plan of God, but the mechanism involved is very difficult to understand. As I explained, there are 6-7 different characters in them that we just see things that we don't know. It's like, as I previously gave you an example, it's just like Tarzan in the jungle. Tarzan gets help from animals in every directions, but the animals are incapable of teaching Tarzan how to think. We as a human, we do not know how to make prophets to become prophet of God, to become manifestation of God, to produce this kind of things that they have. But however, there are evidences and there are things that we hear a lot of time that brings the questions, how do we talk about this kind of things? For example, there's a lot of shortcoming on behalf of the prophets of God, so-called, when they demonstrate that raises the question. The final answer to that is really, when it comes to human being, the program of human being, the spirit of human being, many of us could be better than the prophets of God. We're scientists, we're artists, we're musicians, we're great sportsmen. Prophets of God, they're not. They may be or they may not be. Many of them. In this way, they have no dispute with us. Or even in the animal, many animals, they can beat Tarzans, in running and jumping, but they're not capable of thinking like him. That's why it makes human overall better, higher stage than the animals. But it doesn't mean that human excels in everywhere. Then definitely animals have better sight, better hearing, but they can't think. Same as us in the reference to the prophets of God. Many animals, human souls, they can beat the prophet of God in their faculties. So in that manner, we hear these things that sometimes we hear is a reference to that human part of the prophets of God. Even if it comes to their personality as a prophet of God, they could have shortcoming even there in relation with themselves, not with us. For example, whatever mistake we make, we do not descend down to be an animal. Why? Because we still can think in that reference, or higher. Same with the prophet of God. You hear sometimes Abdul Baha says, oh, I made a mistake. I was keeping this document somewhere else, but I forgot. So, just like a person, he could forget things. There are many, many examples like that. So in that regard, and with that reference, the knowledge of the prophets of God is the same thing. It's limited to what their mission and their responsibility is. It would be funny, in my opinion, that the prophet of God is as great physicist as Einstein, and for that he goes and dies. What for? Man can become a physicist. The prophet of God does not need to be a physicist, especially to go to jail for it. Or an artist, or a painter, or a musician. These are the things that we can do. Bob clearly says, for everything God has made a ways of getting it done in the planet. And don't ask God, he says, for all these things. It's already there. You just have to think how you could get that. Except for one thing that you don't know, and that is bring the manifestation of God. So that is what God is going to do. So manifestation of God, prophet of God, definitely is confined and limited and excluded to things that we cannot do. Anything we can do, prophet of God, they don't come to demonstrate that. In that regard, we're good for ourselves. They don't bring an economical plan. They don't bring a social plan, government. To them, these things are there. What we cannot do is how to create love and affection between a man and a woman by which they are loyal together and they raise children and they love their children. These things cannot be enacted by the lawyers or philosophized by philosophers or politicians, scientists. Nobody can do that, it seems. That is the department where he creates that kind of a glue, something that cements us together, describes those relationships, increase the love and affection within us. You can see all the religious background people, most of them anyways, proportionally way more than those who don't have religion, they have a stronger children, a stronger family. People in the Middle East are the great evidence in Canada that their children are very well, bigger, better personality, bigger, stronger characters, I should say, not better, but stronger. So that is what they are here for, to constitute family, which is the spiritual womb where human soul and character is raised up to 15, 16 years. Make him strong enough so he can enter the society and succeed in what he wants to do. That is their department. So if it comes all of a sudden, somebody tells me that, oh, Abdul Baha said something about physics or about that astronomy and it is wrong, sure. That's not his department. They ask him, he said, this is what scientists say, and he clearly says that is not my department. So they are not infallible when it comes to the things that we can do. because you're talking to human part of the prophet and they're just like us. They could be even less than us. The other thing is miracles. You hear a lot of miracles. Prophets of God, they hate, absolutely resentful in producing miracles. Miracle meaning something that ordinary man cannot do. Like baffled, flabbergasted with it. Why is that? It's a simple fact that we are supposed to see one perfect human being dealing with all the issues that we deal with, just as he does. He has children, he has family, he has economy, he has everything. And he's just limited to what we as a human are. Therefore, we have no excuse to say that, oh, the prophet of God can walk on the water, he can fly in the air, or he does not get sick. None of that is true. They would resent to show and fall into that aspect of their mission, unless they are forced. If people definitely decide to kill Baha'u'llah when he's a kid, that would become impossible. Because this was decided that he can be there. And this prophethood is not conferred upon them. This is very important. They're born with it. It's not an appointment. Okay, now you're a good guy, so you're a prophet of God. It's not like that. They're born with it. Just like human born with the power of thinking. They're born with the different dimensions. Right from the childhood. And in the